It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Great to have you in studio with us today. J.D. Maddie from Astronomers of Verde Valley in studio once again with us. Astroverde.org is the website for more information about what all we're talking about today, as well as Astronomers of Verde Valley. Good to see you, J.D.
Yes, glad to be back.
Thanks for coming in on short notice.
Certainly.
But you're always a guarantee to be an interesting show. So you've listed out some interesting things that took place this year, so I guess we should probably jump right into it because we wind up running out of time when you're here.
Yes, I know.
Because there was a lot to talk about that's going on outside of our atmosphere.
No one's ever accused me of not talking too much. So.
I will never do that. So go ahead, fill us in. What happened?
Yeah, well, for the viewers that are watching on their TVs, you'll be able to see a picture of what we call the blood moon. This is a lunar eclipse where the moon is actually behind the shadow of the Earth. And our first one was earlier this year, April 14th and 15th. And the picture is from that. As you can see, the moon is a really, really dark red color. Well, we had another one just this past October 8th, however. It was cloudy in the Verde Valley, so we did not have a chance to see it here. But our next blood moon will be on April 4th. Of next year, 2015, and it starts about a little after 3 a.m. Arizona time, and it'll still be eclipsed a little bit when it sets at about 6:15. The maximum eclipse will be at about 5 a.m., so you'll have a couple of hours where you can go out and have a look at this eclipsed moon.
Early morning.
It's quite fascinating. You don't need binoculars or a telescope or anything. You can just look up in the sky and see the really, really dark red moon.
Watch it change color.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, as it reaches its full eclipsed color, and that's why they call it the blood moon, because it's a really deep red color, it'll be kind of hard to find in the sky, so you'll have to know to look over above the western horizon. And then you'll be able to pick it out. And of course, if you're looking with binoculars or a small telescope, it brings it in even closer and it looks even more unique. But as it goes into the eclipse, just before, it'll be a full moon. So you'll be casting shadows on the ground and such. And then as it goes into the eclipse, the stars, more and more stars will start popping out. And it's just a really fascinating event to watch.
How often does that happen?
Well, we're in an unusual cycle of eclipses right now. It's called a tetrad, where there's 4 total eclipses based 6 months apart. So we've had 2 this year, and there will be 2 more in the year 2015.
Okay.
And I think that cycle is roughly every 22 years or something like that occurs. Now we'll have further lunar eclipses. There'll be partial eclipses, but they won't necessarily be this blood moon eclipse.
So they're pretty special.
Yes, yes, in some ways, yes.
Okay, all right. Sun? You've got a lot of information here about the sun.
Yeah,
the sun's been busy.
The sun has been busy. Of course, we had quite a bit of solar activity this year. Our solar maximum actually occurred about a year ago, and it was fairly quiet.
What's a solar maximum?
A solar maximum is where the sun is at its most activity, flares and sunspots and things. But this particular solar maximum was a little soft, not much going on. But over the past year, it's really been picking up a lot in activity. Now, I'm sure you've heard of solar eclipses, and that's where the moon is between the Earth and sun and covers the sun. Well, we had a partial eclipse here a couple of weeks ago, but a few days before that, actually the day before that, we had a large sunspot complex, and I believe I have a picture of that to show for our viewers. That sunspot complex, just the black spot, is roughly 80,000 miles in diameter, and then the whole circumference of the sunspot grouping area was, I think I measured it at 137,000 miles across. So huge, enormous solar activity on that in that particular area. And it takes about 10 days to go across the face of the sun. So as we saw it the week before this partial solar eclipse, we started thinking, wow, hopefully it'll hold up, because as the moon moves across the the sun and causes the shadow, the sunspot will be right close to it, and sure enough, that's indeed what did happen. It gave quite a visual experience.
What is a sunspot?
A sunspot is an area that's a little bit cooler area of the sun, and it occurs
a little bit cooler.
A little bit cooler.
That sounds
yes.
weird with the sun. Okay.
Maybe not 1,000,000 degrees, but only 650,000 degrees.
Gotcha.
Just a cooler area, and it shows up as a dark spot to us on the surface. This last sunspot was large enough that you could use eclipse glasses or number 12 welding glass, and you could visually see it without binoculars or anything like that. But always have to give a disclaimer: never look at the sun unless you have properly filtered solar equipment or eclipse glasses.
Do we know what causes that cool down?
Yes, the solar cycle, you know, the Earth has a North Pole and a South Pole, and as does the sun. It has a North Pole and a South Pole. Well, for reasons they are trying to understand, every 11 years, the polar regions flip, so they turn internally, and as the polar regions turn, they'll end up at the equatorial belt or the equator of the sun, and that's when you have a lot of solar activity because the magnetic fluxes come up to the surface, cool the spots that we call sunspots, and also cause flares and coronal mass ejections and things of that nature.
Alrighty. Okay.
But then the very next, actually the day before the eclipse, I was setting up my solar equipment looking at the sun, and I saw a really, really bright white spot. Now I was looking at the sun in what's called through a hydrogen alpha telescope, which shows the sun as red, really, really red, because only the hydrogen alpha wavelengths come through this telescope.
Okay.
So I saw a spot that was white on the edge of the sun. I thought, wow, that indicates millions of degrees of temperature on the surface. And sure enough, as I set my camera up and started taking pictures of it, the spot disappeared, but all of a sudden this ejection of hydrogen and plasma comes off the edge of the sun. And normally a solar flare, and let's say a solar flare can be 20 to 30,000 miles tall, what I call normal solar flare that you see around the edge of the sun, takes about a day to develop, sometimes 2 or 3 days to develop, because the gas expands at a rate of about 1,000 miles an hour. So if it's 24,000 miles tall, it takes nearly a day to develop. However, this flare ejected out at over 1,000,000 miles an hour, and in 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, it had ejected material over 200,000 miles off the surface of the sun.
That's a lot of power.
That's a lot of energy and a lot of power. And although space telescopes and some ground-based telescopes are watching the sun 24 hours a day, to see that in a small amateur telescope, I just happened to be there at exactly the right time to see that. And if you go to our website, there's a picture of it on our homepage of the website, and then a link you can click. I made a little video of it. I took a series of like 300 pictures, and I made a little video of it that's on. You can click as the link to YouTube to see that actually as it occurred.
So you were like a kid at Christmas then?
Definitely, that was an interesting experience. Yes.
Okay, can we take our first break?
Sure.
All right, let's take our first break. Astronomers of the Verde Valley, J.D. Maddie in studio today. Astroverde.org is that website you can go to see all the pictures we're looking at today.
Yeah.
They're all on that website. So astroverde.org. I'm Paul David, Countywide, back in just a couple minutes.
Really? Buzz, what's up, man? You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point there, Smokey.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Headaches and back pain are two of the top reasons people choose Mosing Chiropractic. Dr. Mosing also treats symptoms of numbness and tingling, as well as those injured in auto or work accidents. Dr. Mosing uses gentle chiropractic techniques, as well as electric muscle stim and cold laser therapies. Call Dr. Mosing today at 634-0733. No spine left behind at Mosing Chiropractic.
finally bought a place.
You seriously have enough saved to do that?
We've been putting a little aside each month.
So at the end of the month, we have nothing left to save. How is my account overdrawn?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Good one, son.
Last summer, my new dad took me on vacation. First, we went deep sea fishing.
Wow! I'm so proud of you, son.
And then we went on Thunder Shark. That was awesome! Let's go again. 3 times. I gotta say, it was pretty cool.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
Oh, not again.
Welcome back to Countywide, talking with J.D. Maddie from Astronomers of Verde Valley. Astroverde.org is the website. Couple events coming up on November 15th, Alamo Lake Night Under the Stars. I just want to mention these before we jump back into these. That's going to be down Alamo Lake.
Yes.
What time?
Alamo Lake State Park. We're having an all-day activity on Saturday. We'll have solar viewing with hydrogen alpha telescopes, visual telescopes, and ultraviolet visual telescopes to look at the sun. We'll have our night sky network tents, which are projects for adults and kids, and all kinds of giveaways, posters and information and such.
Interesting.
And then in the evening, we'll have our star party, what we call a star party, where we have all the big telescopes out looking at the dark skies.
Those are fun too.
And then also the Arizona Science Center is going to be out there with us, and they always bring out some folks and telescopes and such. So it's always a fun event.
If I know Alamo Lake, it's dark out there too.
Yes, it is.
And then on the 22nd of November, you've got the Two Trees Dark Sky Weekend. And Two Trees used to be just north of, between Cottonwood and Sedona.
Yes, yes. And we have a small spot there. The Forest Service several years ago graded off some land right next to the little CAM field, the Central Arizona Modelers Air Park. And so we take our telescopes out there, and there's no visible lights, and it's a really, really nice dark site to observe the skies.
I saw two trees, and it made me remind me of my younger days here in the Verde Valley, knowing about those two trees on 89A.
Yes,
Let's jump back into what you brought, these great photos of the eclipses.
Yes, yes. There again on October 23rd, we had a partial solar eclipse. And from the Verde Valley, it was about 45% coverage, maybe a little more, a little less. I didn't actually do the numbers. And then if you were, say, in Montana or North Dakota, it was up to 80% coverage. It wasn't a total, just a partial eclipse. But they're still always fun, especially with the solar activity we've been having lately, the large sunspot. In fact, if you go on the website, and he has pictures, I think, popped up, you can actually see that large sunspot as the moon crosses in front of the sun. And then also some large filaments that were a couple of 100,000 miles long on the surface of the sun. So it's pretty fascinating,
Definitely.
There's a couple of total eclipses coming up over the next 2 years. However, you'll need to make a trip to Norway or Antarctica to see the one next year. And then the following year, 2016, there's going to be one that starts above Hawaii and then goes down towards China and Japan in that area. So you have to be out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean to see that eclipse. However, as a treat, and the first time since 1979, August 21st in 2017, that's 3 years from now.
Mark your calendars.
Mark your calendars, definitely. There's going to be a total solar eclipse lasting approximately 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
Oh, wow.
That will start in the South Carolina area, and it'll go all the way across to Oregon, say Portland, Oregon. So anywhere along that line, you'll be able to see a total solar eclipse lasting over 2 minutes.
Now, how much of the eclipse will be in Arizona?
We'll have about an 80% eclipse here from Arizona, maybe a little bit more. Depending on the positioning of the moon and such in relation to the sun, you can have a path of totality. In other words, if you're anywhere within this particular eclipse in 2017, I believe it's a 100-mile wide path. So if you're not in exactly the central path of the total eclipse, if you're anywhere in that 100-mile range, you'll still see a total eclipse for over 2 minutes.
That's amazing.
Once you get outside the range, you'll have a total eclipse maybe for a few seconds. And then there again, we're about 1,000, maybe 1,500 miles away from that center line, eclipse line, and we'll have an eclipse of about 80% here from Arizona.
Wow.
Of course, this is an unusual event. There's been several in Australia over the past few years, but it's going to be pretty unique. And people from all over the world, there'll be hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions of people from all over the world will come into the U.S. just to see this total solar eclipse. Yes.
That big of a draw?
Yes. There's groups of eclipse chasers, and they go to every solar eclipse.
No kidding. A
couple of years ago, in 2012, we had the annular eclipse that was visible from here. The center line was up in Page in the Grand Canyon area.
Okay, I remember that.
So we went up to a little place in Utah called Lone Rock, right on the lake there to view the eclipse. But there was an annular eclipse, which means the sun was farther away from Earth and didn't cover the complete ball of the sun, so there was still an annulus or a ring around it. And then when the moon is closer to the Earth, the shadow is bigger and covers the entire entity of the sun.
Well, if you've seen one, haven't you seen them all?
No, everyone's different.
Good. There you go.
You have different weather patterns. You have everything's different. To say you've seen one's pretty unique, but you'll want to go back and see them again and again and again. There's a fellow that used to work he just retired from NASA, Fred Espenek, and I think he's attended 26 solar eclipses over the last 30 or 35 years.
Neat.
So he's definitely a diehard eclipse chaser.
All right. Do you want to go to some constellations?
Yes, we're saying goodbye to our summer constellations. In fact, last night, I was out looking at Sagittarius, and it was dipping below the horizon, below Mingus Mountain, just right at sunset. So we've pretty much lost the heart of the Milky Way. A couple of constellations are still visible that are considered summer constellations, are Hercules, Cygnus and Lyra and such, and we can still see those for another month or so before they finally sink to the horizon. But then our wintertime constellations are coming up. Orion, Leo, Aquarius, Capricornus, and some things like that will be...
What's the best time to see those? At night?
Usually I like to go out between 10 and midnight. That's when it really gets dark. A lot of the businesses in town turn off their lights, and so it gets just a little bit darker. And then I always like to wait till they are right overhead. That's the best time to look at any objects when it's right overhead, because you're only looking through one atmosphere. Orion comes up now just right about 10 o'clock in the evening. But if you look on the horizon, you're looking through a tremendous amount of atmosphere, up to 10 atmospheres on the horizon. So things aren't going to be as crisp and as clear. And as they rise up to the overhead, they're much easier to see and much more vivid.
So what, by midnight, 1 a.m.?
Yes, yes.
So you're a night owl.
Yes, a lot of times.
You're definitely a night owl. Let's take our second break and we'll continue talking about the constellations, okay? Astronomers of Verde Valley, J.D. Maddie in studio today, astroverde.org. A lot of the photos coming up on the show today, you'll find them there. I'm Paul David, Countywide, back in just a couple minutes.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born, and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that! That's disgusting! Oh, poop already! You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Time to wake up. I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Don't forget, you've got a job to do today.
Hey, Mom. I got the job. Thanks.
Got the job. Welcome aboard.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does. And like that, you're a job creator.
Headaches and back pain are two of the top reasons people choose Mosing Chiropractic. Dr. Mosing also treats symptoms of numbness and tingling, as well as those injured in auto or work accidents. Dr. Mosing uses gentle chiropractic techniques, as well as electric muscle stim and cold laser therapies. Call Dr. Mosing today at 634-0733. No spine left behind at Mosing Chiropractic.
Welcome back to Countywide. A few minutes left of the program. Again, astroverde.org is the website to go to. You can find more information about. There's an event coming up on the November 15th, Alamo Lake Night Under the Stars, and then Two Trees Dark Sky Weekend is coming up on November 22nd. That's with the Astronomers of Verde Valley. J.D. Maddie, our guest today. We're talking about space.
Yes.
And you said the meteor showers.
Yes, we have a couple of nice meteor showers that the moon is going to cooperate with us for a bit.
Okay.
So in other words, the moon will be pretty much dimmed away and out of the sky for the Leonid meteor shower, which is this coming weekend. The best times to go out are, say, Saturday night, Sunday morning early, and Sunday night and Monday morning very early to see what's called the Leonid meteor showers.
Where am I going to be looking?
Well, the meteors can occur anywhere in the sky, but they have what's called a radiant, and they radiate from Leo the Lion. So after midnight, I didn't look to see exactly what time the constellation come up, but probably about 2 a.m. if you look to the eastern sky, you'll see what looks like a large backward question mark, and that's the head of Leo the Lion.
Oh, okay.
So the meteors will radiate from that constellation area, but there again, they can still come in any part of the sky. Now, as the Earth turns, and keep in mind the universe is moving, but we're turning, and that's what causes day and night. But as we turn into the bulk of the meteor shower, that's when we see the brightest and best meteors.
Okay, so around 2 a.m.
Around 2 a.m. is usually the best
east.
time to look. Yes,
okay.
yes.
All right.
And then that's this weekend, starts this weekend. And then we have in December, on the roughly the 12th to the 14th area, we have the Geminid meteor shower. And that will radiate, comes from the Gemini, Castor and Pollux, the Gemini twins. And those rise up a little earlier than Leo, so that we'll have maybe some favorable times, say between 10 p.m. and midnight to go out and view some meteors then.
Eastern sky again?
Yeah, well, more overhead at that time
Okay.
for the Geminids, more overhead. But there again, the meteors can show up in any part of the sky.
Now, just looking up, I'll be able to see these things, or should I?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, you don't need binoculars or a telescope or anything. You just need a nice clear sky, away from lights. So if you have a porch light, turn it off. Just try to get in your darkest area. If there's some neighborhood lights that seem to interfere, we'll stand in the shadow of your house or behind something that'll keep you away from the lights. So your eyes can be dark adapted as well.
Look up and enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
J.D. Maddie, great to see you again.
Good to be back.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Sure.
J.D. Maddie, Astronomers of Verde Valley, astroverde.org. Astroverde.org is the website. That's today's Countywide. I'm Paul David. We'll talk to you again next time. Just like a rainstorm on the side of the road that dislodges a rock.
Right. But there's a equilibrium point. So of course the Earth goes around the sun, right? And we have a pretty consistent orbital path. Now, when the comet comes across the called the solar wind pushing against the comet, and that's what gives it its fantail, big wide fantail.
Okay.
As it melts particles, the solar wind's pushing, and although the comet may be moving, say, 30, 40,000 miles an hour, the solar wind pushing as the particles come off of it, the solar wind kind of stops the particles. So the particles are stationary and then start, well, they basically just stop. And then the Earth passes through that dust cloud. And because the Earth orbit tilts a little bit, you know, kind of like the moon goes all over the place. So occasionally you'll have better meteor showers as it passes through the heart of the cloud.